Hello, welcome to Tanya Outside In. We are chapter 18, the second. We were in chapter 18 last week, and we're in chapter 18 this week still. Excuse my blocked up nose. I'm into my fifth week of a cold, interestingly enough. Baruch Hashem, Kapos Avodas. We're talking about, well, not yet, but we are going to be talking about Mesiras Nefesh. And we're going to understand the Tanya's take on Mesiras Nefesh, which is different to anything that I ever heard before, and it's amazing. We've spoken about many times now. Um, but what we just as a quick recap, we mentioned last week these chapters, beginning from Yud Ches, all the way through until Kaf Hey, are kind of like a unit by themselves. And we're basically discussing what the Rebbe calls the short path to avodas Hashem, which is not really a short path, meaning it's the short path as in it takes quite a long time to explain it, um, but it's not the path that we need decades of work to accomplish. The real work of the real work in the Tanya is decades of work of consistent effort and thinking where you actually transform who you are. You become a more godly person. Not just that you get your behavior in line, that also, but that you actually become by thinking about the right things in the right way, talking to the right people, having the right conversations, um, learning the right texts, and I'll add this myself, is writing. Writing yourself. You should be writing. You should be writing. You should write essays. You should write down Chidushay Torah. But writing essays, I know we've got chatbot now, which is a bit of a, I don't know how that will affect this, but it could still be incorporated in, but the idea of writing your chidushim down and trying to write them nicely and in whatever style you do, if it's exciting, if it's deep, if it's however you write, but the act of writing is of huge benefit in many ways. It helps you remember stuff. It helps you order things. It gives you chidushim. It's just it's a very important avoider. Okay, a side point. So yeah, so with that said, uh, the Tanya was explaining how using our mind, Bekitza, we can transform who we are. Okay, now the Tanya is beginning to talk about how you don't really need to transform who you are because you are so godly anyway that you would rather die than bow to an idol. Yeah, rather than doing a profound Avera, you would rather die. So he just says, like just channel that, like we said to the about the businessman, the entrepreneur who's never with his family, and you say to him, would you give up your life for your kids? It's like, of course I would. And you say to him, well, why don't you go and spend an hour or two with them a week? He's like, that's called crazy. That's crazy. That's called a rush stus. That's an insanity that a man would be prepared to give his life for his children, but he can't find an hour to put them to bed once a week. Yeah, that's crazy. So that's basically what the Rebbe is going to say. The Rebbe is going to say is, look, you would give up your life for God. So, well, then just live your life for God. If you'd give your life for God, that means that God is bigger than your life. So if you're prepared to give your life for God, then live your life for God. Simple. It's just like 1 + 1 = 2. A equals B equals C. That's it. You'd give up your life for God, so live your life for God. Yep, we should do that. We should be living our life for God, not for anything else. There is nothing else to live your life for. If you're living your life for yourself, that's just silly. That's just silly, and it's going to be full of heartache and emptiness. So might as well live our life for Hashem. Okay, so we're in on page 46, page Yud Ches. First one on the line is ve'echad.
Yeah,
Okay, a
right.
couple of words in. Ve'al kol panu. So, well, we'll just quickly backtrack a few lines. Um, the Rebbe said that we inherited this love, Shalom Laser. We inherited this love from the Avos, and we asked, how can you inherit a love? You can inherit a loving nature. But how can you actually inherit a love? Your children, your parents could train you to love so and so, but you can't inherit a love for someone. You can inherit a loving nature. So he's going to explain what that is. He also wants to explain where it comes from, and he also wants to explain how fear is nichlal is how's it nichlal? How fear is not comprised, is incorporated. There's a level of fear incorporated into Islam. Okay. Inyan. He always had in the Makava. The Avos were the Makava. ועל כן זכו להמשיך נפש ונשמה לבניהם אחריהם עד עולם. The Avos were a makava for Hashem. They were absolutely dedicated. They were agendaless. That's the way of describing the Avos. They were without any agenda whatsoever. Yeah, just like my children. They they were without. I love that. I've got this vision. It's happened many many times when I was driving. I'm driving around my block to go out somewhere, go to like whatever, and one of my kids is there, and I'm like, "Want to come? You want to come with Abba for an hour?" And they just jump in the car. It's like that thought, like to just be able to do that. It's just anyway. So the Avos, the Havdil, were completely agendaless. They had absolutely self, no agenda, no selfish agenda whatsoever. Yeah, they were called the Makava, meaning they became absolutely, utterly godly. They actually became godly. Like we said, Avraham was the first one to start incorporating the neshama into his goof, and then Yitzhak took it even further, and then finally by Yisrael, by Yaakov, by Yisrael, the neshama and him became one mamash. And therefore he was Zoicha to have the 12 his 12 sons with no psoilus, unlike Avram and Ishmael and Yitzhak who had Esav. So they were the Makava, which means they actually became godly. They were actually elacoustic. That means that they started having children who were also godly. Yeah, just like animals give birth to animals, humans give birth to humans, Jews give birth to Jews. Yeah, that's how it goes. So, ad oilam. Me'esa says the Kedusha. Sheba'aba oilamas. Abiyah lako echad ve'echad kafi medrigasoi v'kafi ma'asav. That's a big line. That basically everyone who comes from the Avos, yeah, meaning all of us, we are from the side of that. Means we have connected to us a nefesh rakis and a shama that comes from these holy places. Everyone according to his level and according to his meisim, meaning although you can't destroy the neshama, so to speak, really. Um, the amount of your connection to it is very much dependent on how you behave or how you misbehave. V'al kol panim, afilu kasha b'kanim, u'poish Yisrael, even the most simple Yidden, nimshach b'zivugam, nefesh to nefesh, to malchus to asiya. They come from the zivug of the nefesh b'nefesh, the lowest level of the malchus of asiya, the lowest level. Yeah. Shahaya Shehi Medrega Tachtoina Shebekdusha Asiya, which is Shebekdusha Asiya. That is the lowest level. They come, even the people whose neshamas come from the lowest level, they are they are still Jewish. I'll explain why. It sounds a little kabbalistic here, but it's not really. Even so, me'achas shehi me'esas veres kadoshas. He kalula bekulan. Gam chochma de asir shebesoicha, melubeshes chochma de malchus de atzilus, ubesoicha chochma de atzilus. No matter how lowly these people are, because they come from their neshama comes from the 10 holy spheres, yeah, which is koilel, the chokhmah of a seer. When it comes to the lowest level of a seer, that also comprises the chokhmah of a seer, and inside the chokhmah of a seer is the malchus of Atzilus. And in the Malchus of and Besoicha Hachmah Atzilus, and within the Malchus of Atzilus is the Chochmah of Atzilus. It works like a kind of Russian doll. It's concentric levels. The way the Kabbalistic universe works, excuse me, is you have the initial Halal Panui, yeah, which is the vacated space that Hashem made, so to speak, Kivyochel, that he, so to speak, removed himself from the sides. Then he shone down a cove, a line of light, went right down the middle and stopped just before it got to the bottom. To Mochlokas, it's halfway. If it's the bottom, the way I learned it is it just gets right close to the bottom, and then it doesn't touch there. And now the whole Kabbalistic universe is built around that cove, that line of light. So around that line of light is what we call Adam Kadmon, yeah, or Ak, we call it. Yeah, that is the first levush that goes around the cove. So the pneumius of Adam Kadmon is the cove. Yeah. Now from the waist down of Ak is layered at Atzilus. Yeah. And then lower down at Atzilus is now layered right at the bottom is layered together Bria, Yetzira, and Asiya. Okay, but they're concentric layers, and they have the top part of them is exposed. Okay, you with me a little bit? A little bit. So the point is that they're concentric layers. So in the when we're going for the Tzad of Kedusha, within the Tzad of Kedusha, wherever you are, if you're in the Tzad of Kedusha, the pneumius of it is going to be the Chochmah Atzilus, which is really where the Ein Sof is, the Gabre, which is really where the Kav is. It's just there's concentric layers. So that's what he's saying. That because this person is Jewish, that means that they come from the side of holiness, and within the very essence of holiness is always going to be Hashem. And therefore they are godly. Shabbat Meir or Ein Sof Baruch Hu, that within Chochmah of Atzilus is the Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu, the light of God Himself, Mamash. K'dichsiv Hashem b'Chochmah Yesod Haaretz. That Hashem is in the Chochmah, which is the foundation of the land. So yeah, again, you have this concentric idea: the land, then Chochmah, then inside Chochmah is Hashem. V'kulam b'Chochmah Asisa. He made everything with Chochmah. It comes out that the Ein Sof is enclosed within Chochmah within the Chochmah of the Nefesh of the Mensch. Yemish Yem Yisrael. Whoever, as long as he's Jewish, that's the case. He just explained in a kind of Kabbalistic way how the pneumius of the neshama of every Jew, no matter how lowly he is mamash to Avodah Shloim himself. Every Jew, every single Jew. Even if it's a Kadosh Baruch Hu. Hey, Yochanan, just say that. Here's Yochanan.
Hi.
Okay, boom. Yeah. Within that Chochmah, im Or Ein Sof Baruch Hu melubash ba, mispashetes b'chol bechinas nefesh kula, lachiyoseh bechinas roisha ad bechinas ragla. That the essence of the Jewish soul, that spark of the Avodah Shloim that's hidden within the Chochmah, spreads out into the entire soul. The entire soul becomes Kadosh. The entire soul is Kadosh. From its head to its foot. That the soul is given life through its bowel, which is Tichye Baler. Oh, the one who owned the neshama, the outside, the more external levels of the neshama are being given life from the essence of the neshama, which is the word Shalom. Lefamim, occasionally, Mamshichim Poishi Israel, Neshamas Gavoyas Ma'oid, Shiki Ma'omke Aklipus, Kamishkas B'Sefer Gilgulim. And it comes out that sometimes very lowly people will bring down incredibly great neshamas. That's how this world works. Occasionally it will be that very simple Yidden will have children who are in possession, so to speak, of a very, very holy soul. So what is the difference between a very high soul and a very low soul? A Jewish high soul and a Jewish low soul? So the main difference, it's really a difficult thing to talk about because the expression could be different. So it can express itself in so many different ways. One of the main points of a high soul is that a high soul will have lots of lesser souls connected to it. So the higher souls should be like the Rebbes and the Rosh Yeshivas and the whatever it is. The people giving over generally will be having higher souls because that's how it works. That the smaller souls gravitate to the bigger souls to take their energy from. That's how it works. It's like branches. It's like roots and branches. According to Rab Ashlag, speaks about roots and branches the whole time. So that's one Indian. Then you've also got, and that it's really the same Indian, is that the bigger neshamas are really a bigger Ratzon. That's really the that would be the reason. I mean, again, it's all the same thing. You just like I said, manifests in many ways. But the bigger the Ratzon that you have, and that could actually transpose into very klippadika things because a big Ratzon, if a person has a big Ratzon and it's not being channeled to avoid Hashem, then he's going to be getting into all kinds of trouble. Okay. Vehine, ha'achma hi makor haseichel. Chochma is the root of intelligence. V'haseichel, makor haseichel v'havana. Vehi lemala me'bina. She havanas haseichel v'hasagase. It's beyond the idea of grasping. Chochmah is not about grasping. Go on. Can anyone finish this sentence? Chochmah is not about grasping. Chochmah is about laser. Can you finish that sentence? Bina, Bina is about grasping. Chochmah is about
initiating the idea. That's where it begins. No, Chochmah is where it begins, and then it goes to Bina, and then ultimately to Ta.
But Chochmah doesn't initiate the idea. Chochmah, you could say it like that, but there's a more accurate way of saying it. Bina understands. Chochmah what, Laser? You'll mute.
Chachma.
Say Bina allows to develop the
wisdom.
idea.
It's a spark of inspiration.
So that's how we describe it. But listen to this. Bina understands. Chochmah sees. It just sees. Let me ask you a question. By Yamsuf, who saw more? The kids or the parents? The big chachamim or the pashata people? Seeing is seeing. Okay, let's talk about this because it's a very important idea, yeah? Hearing and seeing. What's the difference between hearing and seeing? So there's a bunch of differences. Hearing is bechinas understanding. Seeing, maybe you'd call it experiencing, but it's seeing. Listen to the difference, yeah? A guy goes on an adventure. He comes back from his adventure and he tells you that he saw this animal and he describes it to you. It's got the ears of an elephant, and it's got the scales of a snake, and it's got the legs of a giraffe. And he paints you this picture, and you're like putting it together in your mind. And you'll be, wow, that's amazing. I never heard of such a thing. Wow. What have you done though? That's hearing. That's experiencing something through hearing. He's described to you an animal, and what you've done is you have put together pre-existing images in your mind in a novel way that have given you an interesting picture of some kind of whacked out animal. Yeah? Now, what happens when he shows you a picture? You'd be like, wow, I could never have imagined such a thing. That's amazing. So listen to the difference. This is very, very important. This has huge ramifications in lots of different areas of Yiddishkeit, of understanding things. That when you understand through listening, what you do is you fit it into your mind. You pull the thing to your mind. So I took I've got all these pictures of the elephant and the rabbit and the snake and all this stuff. And now I bring this creature into my mind. I put it into my kalim. That's the way of saying it. Hearing is putting it into your kalim. Seeing is your kalim being brought to the thing itself, to the new thing. So when you you describe to me this creature, now I fit it into my pre-existing pictures in my mind. I brought it to me. But when you show me the picture, my mind now opens. I become a new person. My mind is taken to the thing. That's the difference between seeing and hearing. Whatever you hear, you bring to you. Whatever you see, you are taken to it. Is that clear?
So which is deeper?
That's a great question. Which one's better? And they have their pros and cons. I just explained to you the Metzias. Like, for example, would it be what's better, to hear your wife or to see your wife? Better to hear your wife. Meaning that means the other one has a place to come into you because they come into your kalim, which is what they want. They want to express themselves through you. And that's a side part. I'll get complicated to go there. Let's not. I shouldn't have opened up that. But what we're saying here is that the reason, now we're going to explain the reason why the Ein Sof Baruch Hu can exist in Chochmah is exactly because of this. Because Chochmah is just about seeing. It's not about understanding. So you can't understand Ein Sof. There is no understanding of Hashem. So Bina would get frustrated by Hashem. Therefore, Hashem and Bina are incompatible. Whereas Hashem and Chochmah, because all Chochmah is really just an opening. Chochmah is just a space. It's just an opening. That's why Chochmah is the Nakuda of Pasach. Yeah? And if you look, it says, wherever it says Chochmah in Nach, it always mentions Pasach, like the idea of a Pesach. That Chochmah is just an opening. So when it's just an opening and there's no union of understanding, it's just like at Yam Suf where we just watched, we just looked, and the smallest kids were seeing the same thing as the biggest Chachamim. Everyone saw the same thing. We were all evened up. When it comes to Chochmah, we're all even. It's the ultimate equalizer because it's just looking. What do you need to look to understand? Now that is there's endless levels of understanding. Some people understand things very deeply, some people don't. Yeah, but everyone sees the same thing. You get taken to it, and therefore, in the place of Chokhmah of the Neshama, that is where the Rabboni Sholem is. So just laser, the way I always learned, like everyone learns, is that Chokhmah is that spark, and what Ben, what you were saying, Chokhmah is that spark where everything is contained within it, yeah? And that's not wrong. But the way I learned from Rav Manis, a more accurate way of understanding it, is that what you're saying now. Okay. I hope it's a Messiah that I'm
It's just an article on Chabad.org about exactly what you're saying right now.
listen, I'm just giving over the Messiah that I've been recovered for my Rebbe. I'm not giving you any Chedushim here. I hope that's really I got the greatest compliment of my life the other day. I told you that. I said
Yeah, you
that.
sound like Rahmanis.
Yeah, someone said
Or he
someone
sounds like you, right? He's copying you.
no, but as a joke. But I'm saying just the fact that what I say was so similar to what Rav Manis says. That's the greatest thing I think anyone's ever said to me. Um, but that's aside. The more accurate way that I've understood Chokhmah to be is Chokhmah is not that flash of inspiration. Chokhmah is the opening to the level above it that allows that flash of inspiration to shine through. Chokhmah is just that's why Chokhmah and humility, that's why it's Koyach Ma. Chokhmah is just an empty space that allows from the level above Chokhmah, which is Kesser, which is really the spark, to flow through into Bina, and that's the more accurate picture that I learned from Manis. It's the same idea. It's like what you're saying. It's just a bit more. It's a fancier. It's like the difference between Newtonian physics and Einsteinian physics. The Havdil. Okay, so so that is the point. Chokhmah is beyond. It is the makor. It's the root, the source of intelligence and Havana, but it isn't intelligence and Havana. It's beyond that. Vehi lemala me'abina. She havanas seichel, which is the way that the seichel understands something, and how it grasps. For a chokhmah lemala me'havana v'hasaga vehi makor lehem. It is the source of understanding. Meaning our ability to understand comes from Chokhmah, but Chokhmah itself is not about understanding. Chokhmah, understanding is an infinitesimally small part of Chokhmah, so to speak, which is the revelation of Bina. V'zeu loshen Chokhmah koyach ma. It's just the potential of what? Koyach ma, the potential of what? Shuma she'ein musag muvan. It's what that isn't grasped and understood. And it isn't understood in your mind. Like I said before. And therefore, because it's not about understanding, it's just about seeing, it has a relationship with the Rabboni Sholem. Because you can't understand the Rabboni Sholem. Your mind cannot grasp the Rabboni Sholem. Your mind cannot grasp the Rabboni Sholem. Anything that you think about Hashem is wrong by definition. Our avodah is to stop thinking, like to use the thinking to stop the thinking. That's a very helpful thing to do. You have to try and quiet the mind. That's when you have a real experience of Hashem. You know when you have a real experience of Hashem? Right now we're having a real experience of Hashem. Understanding Sefer Tanya, understanding Mishnayos, understanding Gemara, understanding Chumash. Yeah? How do you feel when you're understanding Pshat in Chumash? Yeah? How do you feel when you're getting clear on a halacha in the Rambam? Yeah? You might feel agitated and bored, but you're having the most profound connection with the Muslim you could ever have. Masha'en Kane, a guy could be sitting at a meditation retreat, in lotus position, music and chimes and incense and literally just pouring with tears and crying, yeah. And he's not touching Hashem in any way, shape, or form. And you got the kids sitting in a smelly hot classroom in Jerusalem, learning their Mishnah, and Kulu Hashem. A little different to how we understand reality, no? A little different to how the world understands reality. Today's Mashal Tefisa Meiklau, L'chein Kol Yisrael, and therefore all of Yisrael, Afilu Nashim Amin, even the women and the Amin Oretz, the women of our generation are completely different to the women of this generation, by the way. He speaks about women at Amin Oretz, Amaratzim together, because in the old days, no women were educated anyway. There were the idea of a woman who is literate 250 years ago was just absolutely unheard of. So in our generation, it's absolutely not relevant, that including Nashim in this thing. Nashim and men on a level of intellect in our generation are more or less the same now. But in the old days it was not like that at all. Yeah, so he said Nashim it's even very, very simple people.
It's an Indian now. It's an Indian nowadays of Aisha Soviv Geva. The women are surrounding the men, meaning the Rebbe understood that way before any other path in the Yiddish belt, that the women need to be given the Torah Shel Chassidus and be encouraged with the workplace and everything else. He was not Chas v'Sholom in any way feminist. He was understanding the Orei Shel Mashiach, that there would be a Gilui, that women would start to become, just like the Levana is going to become Shalem, they would start to become shining just like the man in terms of Chokhmah.
You see in the Haredi world what's happening. There's actually something very tragic happening in the Haredi world, where the women are outshining the men on such a deep level that women are being pushed into such an incredible avoider of just what the things that the women are doing now, which is tragic, because it's like the roles are being reversed a little bit, which is a tragedy.
Yeah, that's where the Rebbe got the balance right, because he encouraged them. But if you read from Sfarim, from the Nishei Chabad, you'll see they always understood that they need to maintain their role as a wife and as a mother.
Yeah,
you see with the Shluchim as well, that they don't try and and undermine the Shliach. They always have the Shliach as the front, as the face of the Chabad and the work they're doing. And they understand that, and that's the yeah. Here we go, 1840. Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So that one I saw somebody say that, was it the the Alter Rebbe brought Hasidus down to the Goinim. Like, there's a whole thing that they say by each of the Rebbes, they brought it down. It was something like the Alter Rebbe brought it down to the Goinim. Yeah, then the Mittler Rebbe brought it down to the Hasidim, and then the Semach Tzedek is the whole thing, and then it says finally the Lubavitch Rebbe, the previous Lubavitch Rebbe, he brought it down to the Nashim. That was the so now the Nashim are shaykh to the to all of these things as well, and it's crazy because the Nashim in the seminaries and stuff, they're learning, they're getting Yiddishkeit much clearer than the Bochrim are. Because the Bochrim just learn Gemara without any concept of getting any kind of hashlama of what is the big picture, and the women are in seminary, mamash getting it clear, like what Yiddishkeit's all about. So there's a lot of.
Did you notice when you were at Shir David how much the women are like more of it Hashem than the men? Did you notice?
Yeah, I mean, look at
Nashim was rocking.
Look at also look at like Y.Y. Jacobson and Rav Shais Taub and Rav Manis Friedman. They're Kima only giving shirim to women. It's like every shir they give it's like it's Noshim. That's the women are open to they're open to it. It's a chiddush that we got a group of men here who are listening to these ideas. That's a shtickle chiddush. Anyway, okay, let's hold here. Let's hold here. That's a good place to hold. Fine. Shkoyach. Yitzhak, can you hold over for a minute?
Yeah, please. Yeah, thank you.